Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. It'll be quite nice. Good time. It'll be very evil. And you'll love that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And I used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, Smackdown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cell.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the pow.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it now.
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
What up, y'all? Guess who is off on a Saturday? Hope you guys are ready for a big double header. Actually, technically a triple header here on the channel today. We're up here now to do a little quick podcast, kind of a brief one, talking about the WWE releases, a couple of news and notes, a sad death to report, and some news on last night's Smackdown and a preview of Money in the Bank. In addition to that, and just a couple hours later, we're going to do a live reaction to tonight's special AEW Dynamite, which has a title match, Kenny Omega defending against Jungle Boy. I thought it would be a cool, fun, different thing to do on a Saturday since I'm available pretty much all night. And then after the live reaction, we're going to stay up and do a review. So technically, it's 3 videos in 2 today, and then we're going to be up here tomorrow for a watch-along as well on WWE Raw from June 27th, 2011, the 10-year anniversary of the Pipe Bomb. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're going to do a watch-along of that Raw on the Peacock. So be here all weekend long. A whole lot of Greg, of course, will be up here Monday as well for the Raw review. Hope you guys are having a great day. I don't anticipate this podcast to be very long. I'm going to try to bust this out in about an hour because I'm going to be coming back up here live in about 2 hours after that for Dynamite. So we'll try to get through what I wanted to talk about. I promised you guys earlier in the week that I would be up here, or on Monday that I would be up here earlier in the week. Wasn't able to pull that off. Thought I could come up Thursday or Friday. Actually glad I didn't, because yesterday was when all of these releases started happening, and it wouldn't have been a good day to do a video because the releases kept coming throughout the day. So I figured the best time to come up is today, just like I normally do on Saturdays for the podcast, but I thought this week would be a little bit different. So we're going to be getting into all of those WWE releases and some of the ramifications of those, some of the surprises, also talk about that writer that was canned before she even really got started. Some interesting and scary NXT potential call-up soon. A lot of talent has been, being tried out in front of the cameras, including Karrion Kross on Main Event, which did not look good. And we'll talk about that and what these men and women could potentially be doing around draft time, stuff like that. And then last night was a pretty big episode of Smackdown with a major return and a Money in the Bank Universal title match set up in the process. So we're going to get into all of that today. I'm going to say hi to everybody in the chat, knock out the Patreon shout-outs, and then we're going to get into this, and I'll be back in a little bit. Want to make sure I can be seen and heard. All right, I look good over here. We all look fine. Good, good, and good. Let me just say hello to Mixed Partial Farts. Cerebrus Core 97's back. Oh, I made a comment. That's cool. Freddie, Sam, Nate, Mark, Jet the Hawk, David Brown, Steven, Taylor, Sean Jaggers, what's up? David Brown, good to see you back up. Hit you twice. On holiday watching your stream. Nice. Enjoy your vacation, man. I hope it is a wonderful one. Big J is here. Nicola and Ben, Lorenzo Vargas, Nick Musser. Oh, man, you got your wisdom teeth out on Wednesday and you want to eat again. Been there. It's no fun. But, at least you don't have to do it again. Man, good. Best of luck with that. Hopefully you'll heal up soon so solid foods can go back into your mouth and stomach. I know the feeling of that. I had it done myself, and it just sucks. So we're thinking of you today, Nick. Good luck, and enjoy drinking your dinner. Charlie is back. Ben, I got you already. How Wheezy Monkey Wrench is here. Spaz Phoenix dropping in with the $10. Go subscribe to Spaz Phoenix's YouTube channel. I'd consider it a personal favor. I'd also consider a like on this video a personal favor, so hook a brother up. This is now typical cheap plug, but also I'm having a shit lazy day, so I leave it in your capable hands. Cheers to you in the chat. Hope everyone's well. Keep killing it. All right, Spaz, keep chilling. Couch potatoing it up. I know the feeling. It's Saturday. You've got every right to do that, so have at it. Thanks for being here, as always, for the brief shout-out. Hello, Jonathan and JL. I think I got you already as well. Anybody else I missed? Colin is here. Jose is here. Right on. Okay. Looks like some people are piling into the chat. This should be fun. Like I said, we're going to get through this relatively quickly today. It's going to be a little mini pod, and then we're going to be back for Dynamite. Should be a fun Dynamite tonight, and I believe this is the last special episode of Dynamite. The next one is this coming Wednesday, back on Wednesdays, and on the 30th. That's going to be nice to have AEW back on Wednesdays where it really belongs. That was no fun having them bumped around like that. Fuck their ratings all to hell, moving around for the playoffs and stuff, so it'll be good to have them back next week. But they have stacked up tonight's show pretty well because unlike the Friday shows that went live at 10, this one's at 8, and here for me on the West Coast, it's 5. So it's at a much better time. They should be able to draw in a little bit of a better rating than they have been on the Friday episodes, and you got a title match tonight, which we know the outcome of. Kenny Omega ain't dropping that belt to Jungle tonight, but it's going to be a good match, and every time Jungle Boy has been put in one of these situations, he always comes up on the losing effort, but he always has just a ton of respect from his opponent and the fans. So I think it'll be similar to that tonight, although I don't think Kenny will really show him much respect. They'll probably shit on him and continue to kick his ass after the match, and maybe that's when we get some sort of a save or a debut or a return or something like that. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do, but Kenny ain't dropping that belt to Mr. Boy. That's for sure. But anyway, let me scroll over here, knock out the current Patreon subscribers, and then we're going to get into these WWE releases that all went down yesterday. Special shout-out to JJ Legg and Darren Piper, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, Jay Smoove, Martin Can, Alex Dredge, Apron Bump Podcast, Dre Leggett, Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson. Nick, again, thinking about your teeth. K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, John Redford, Claudio Clavedestre, Daniel Rodriguez, Josiah Blevins, Barry MK, Scott Moss, Mr. Steve, John Riffle, Michael Cuomo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, and Blake Moran. As always, dudes, appreciate all of your support over there on the Patreons. Let's get into this another just gigantically huge batch of WWE releases. Now, this one isn't as earth-shattering as the batch that took place, what was it now, a month or so ago, with Braun Strowman and Lana and Aleister Black and that big slew of names that was let go that really shocked the hell out of us. Just a lot of, cost-cutting, I suppose, is what the reason was given to a lot of those talents. But, when they're dropping people like that and they're cutting them loose, you feel like nobody is safe. So this latest batch that started dropping yesterday, it doesn't suck any less by any means. It's never fun. It sucks to watch people lose their job. Some of these people, like August Gray, had a sense of humor about the whole situation, so it's nice to see positive attitudes amongst all of this nonsense. So you never feel good for anybody here. But this current chunk of talent were people who, were largely not being used that much, Everrise has been on TV a lot. They've kind of been right in the thick of things in NXT, and I feel like they just signed a new deal, didn't they? Killian Dane's kind of been on and off again with the Drake Maverick stuff, and, but he's not, he isn't on the rise, it doesn't feel like. And Tony Nese, I know, has been featured on 205 Live, and Breezango is still there, and they did win the NXT Tag Team titles not that long ago on the brand. So they're, maybe some of these were a little bit surprising, but in large part, you can kind of almost see why some of these talents were let go, because if you're not going to do anything with anybody, then cut them loose and let them go work elsewhere, especially if they have a little bit of a name and they can get booked. And I know a lot of these wrestlers are going to be just fine and probably going to find work immediately, around the indies now that, wrestling is coming back to life. Some of them might get some AEW dark matches. Maybe somebody will show up in the Impact Zone. A lot of these guys and gals are going to get work, but at the same time, I'd rather almost see them, out there in the world wrestling, perfecting their craft, than sitting in WWE doing literally nothing. I mean, which is what a lot of them were doing. So, they decided to cut another chunk of talent. And I think it's safe to say, if there is a silver lining in all of this, and people losing their jobs like this, it appears that WWE's days of hoarding talent or just signing people for the sake of signing them or signing them to keep them away from other places and just gathering up talent to where you have so much of it. When you already don't know what you're doing, you add all of this talent that just complicates things, and a lot of the talent suffers because it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle when the deck is 28 decks big, you know what I mean? Like there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cards. It's so easy to get lost in there. It's so difficult to stand out even more than it was back in the day when the rosters were a lot smaller. So at least with this shrinking or, contracting of the rosters a little bit, it allows more people to get opportunities in the long run and might actually benefit the product. We've said this for a long time, that WWE, we've said this in the last couple of years, that they're just signing way too many people, and it feels like they're doing that to keep them away from other promotions, and that's just fucked up. So even though it sucks that all these people lost their job, it might be a step in the right direction in terms of WWE just not having so much talent on their roster. There is still so much talent there. They still have too much. Even with all these cuts, I feel like they have too many people there. So now that just makes things easier, and hopefully, a lot of these talents can go find work elsewhere, and who knows, maybe some of them can do the Drew McIntyre deal, where, they leave, make a name for themselves, come back with their stock risen, making a lot more money and being featured in a much more prominent and secure spot than where they were before. All these talents have an opportunity to do that now. Who knows? Maybe Jericho can get his WrestleMania 29 win back from Fandango if they bring him into AEW. Can almost see Jericho bringing him in, much like Hogan brought in Warrior, just so Hogan could get that win back in WCW. If they do the same thing, they should spoof that. That would actually be funny. Do a match with Fandango and Jericho on AEW. Of course, you can't call him Fandango. Call him something else. Do a shitty flash paper spot. I mean, the whole deal, the whole Halloween Havoc 98 debacle with Hogan and Warrior. Spoof it. Might be fun. Excuse me. Just for S&Gs, you know what I mean? So anyway, let's run through the list of talent here that was actually released. This was sporadic throughout the day. Took place over the course of a few hours, and I'm not going into any particular order here. This is just the order that I wrote them down. WWE released, as of yesterday, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Everrise, Tony Nese, Killian Dane, the Singh brothers, Marina Shafir, Arturo Ruas, who I think we last saw, on Raw Underground, Kurt Stallion, who I think was relatively new, Arya Daivari, who's been around for a while on 205 Live, Tino Sabatelli, who's already been in and out, and August Gray. Now, August Gray had a match that night, I think, on 205 Live last night, and he tweeted out prior to the match because it was taped and he lost. He said, breaking news, this match is now a loser leaves town match. So props to him for having a positive attitude and a sense of humor throughout the whole thing. I think that goes a long way for him to, understand that business is business. And yes, this sucks. And yeah, I just got there. What they signed me for, if they're just going to cut me loose 10 months later, I get all that. But to have a sense of humor through the whole thing, that was kind of comforting to see. And, I think it helped a lot of wrestling fans, deal with this news and stuff to, watch somebody make light of it. So, it was, just a sad day for those individuals. But again, it's business. It's what WWE does. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are even more to come. If they really are in these cost-shedding days. It felt like that when they released, Braun Strowman and shed that $1 million deal. And then a lot of the rumors and the talk about WWE potentially positioning themselves for a sell to try to get their, operating costs and, all the salaries they're paying out, that down to a minimum as much as possible before they make some big sale. Don't know, if that's even the case or not. Either way here, it seems like Nick Khan is, it was reported earlier on in the day and then updated that Nick Khan at first was rumored to be spearheading all these releases. WWE actually denied that and said that wasn't the case. But I think that Nick Khan's name is a name we've been hearing a lot, and I think it's a name that we're going to continue to hear. And who knows if we ever see, I have no idea what this guy even looks like. I don't know if he has any sort of a presence or a voice, or if he's just some, little tiny little twerp that's, running around there with a big job. But if he's any sort of charismatic dude, if we see this dude out on TV one day, he could be the biggest heel in the business. He could be like the new Vince, who knows? But we've been hearing his name a lot. Seems like he's the one who behind the scenes is really positioning this company for maximum profits. And he's already, even with the rumors being denied, it feels like this guy's already got a ton of heat. He's got like Kevin Dunn level heat just because his name has been coming up so much. So we'll see what kind of a role this guy plays in the future, as it relates to, internally in WWE. But he seems to be a big deal. Another one of the big releases that took place yesterday was one of the writers. Her name is Kenise Mobley. Now, she drew up a whole bunch of controversy this week when she did an interview on a podcast where she was talking about being hired by WWE. She was brand new, hadn't even really started the job yet. As a matter of fact, was about to begin research on the company. And she basically just went on this podcast and she, because she doesn't know, it's not really her fault. She doesn't understand the fan base she's about to enter into. And I think she was saying these things on the podcast, thinking nothing of it. Yeah, I'm just a TV writer. WWE hired me because I had comedy experience and TV writing experience. And they're like, come on in. And I don't know anything about the product. And she didn't know who the champion was. She said like Bobby, she called him something else. And she goes, I don't know his name. Maybe I should know that type of thing. So she basically admitted to knowing nothing about the product, not even knowing who the champion was, not knowing anything whatsoever about WWE, but because of her creative writing background, she was brought in. Now, the fans lost their shit when this happened because, oh my God, WWE's bringing people who don't know anything about wrestling. And because of all of that backlash, it made the company look really bad in a way, as Meltzer put it, in a way that WWE doesn't want them to look. So kind of because of that backlash, she was one of the ones also let go. So before she even got started, she was cut. But to the fans that lost their minds over this, I hope you don't think that she was the only one that they've ever hired like this. This has actually been going on since the product was good. Back in the day, right around that, when they went into that Attitude Era, that's when they started bringing in some outside writers from from Simpsons and Conan and shit, and Conan O'Brien show and talk shows and things like that. They wanted those people in there. They've always been there. They've always been a presence, and they've been even more of a presence in more modern years, like in the past few years, to where it now feels like, where back in the day you kind of knew from the dirt sheets, who the top couple of writers were. Now it seems like there are teams of writers and names you've never heard of before until they've been let go or hired or whatever. So this is common practice in WWE. And plus, I mean, why are you surprised? Why are you outraged? Why are you so mad? Have you seen Raw? Does that look like anything that somebody with really true wrestling knowledge would write? No, it's garbage. It's 3 hours of fucking nonsense. SmackDown isn't bad. SmackDown was okay last night. SmackDown, I think eventually could suffer from the same thing, but, they've got Roman Reigns carrying that ship right now. So, they're getting a pass. But overall in the WWE, it's not surprising at all based on the writing, based on the storylines they come up with, and how, they really do treat the fans like idiots. They have no continuity. They don't follow through with anything. And they're just, it's like almost like a sketch show or something where they're just coming up with different things. And, very few storylines are really followed through with. And sometimes when we see things, especially on Monday Night Raw, from a storyline perspective or a promo perspective, like, this is ridiculous. Nobody would talk like this. Nobody would say this. You don't feel it. You don't feel the emotion. It's so scripted. As John Moxley put it last week in an interview, they put 50,000 extra words in there that you don't need. And it just numbs us. I mean, I just tune people out. Like when somebody's in the ring on Raw and I'm like writing my notes, I'm not listening to a word they say because I don't care. It doesn't matter what they say. I know what the gist of it is. They're feuding with somebody. They're going to talk about that person. And that person's either going to come out there and cut a promo against them or attack them or something. And then we're going to get a commercial and then a match. You know the drill. So this type of stuff is something that I think has been going on for a while, and I don't think Kenice Mobley is the only one that is there right now with zero knowledge of the product. I think there's a lot of writers there with zero knowledge of the product, or at least no knowledge prior to getting hired. Maybe they've learned a little bit about it since. Maybe even some of them have picked it up a little bit and kind of understood, okay, maybe now I'm getting it type of thing. But overall, I think the writing team has been trash in WWE for quite a while, and Kenice is probably only one of probably at least a dozen people there that don't know shit about pro wrestling. So I wish I could go back to the days of, having a Cornette and a Pat Patterson, and yes, even a Bruce Pritchard, because he does understand WWE's, philosophy of, TV production and stuff like that. I don't think Bruce is useless. I think he definitely has a role there and somebody who's been there for a long time. But in terms of being, in charge of everything or whatever, that's debatable if that's probably the best idea. But I think there needs to be a mixture of, I think actually people, I'm going to defend a little bit. I'm not going to defend WWE having a bunch of these people, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have somebody who's got creative writing experience or TV experience outside of wrestling or outside of WWE. I'm not sure if I would really agree with bringing in somebody who has no knowledge of the product, but maybe just a casual understanding of what wrestling is. Maybe knows some of the big names, has heard of John Cena before, that sort of shit. Bring them in, maybe a mixture of those people to where they can kind of act as an outsider. Oh, here's how I perceive it if I'm watching it, and you should also have some fans in there. You should have a Greg in there, given the perspective of a fan, based on the way I've watched these fools act for the last 40 years. Here's how I think they would react to that. And then also have, professionals, people who have been in wrestling and have been head bookers before and have written TV and have produced TV and, that sort of thing. But if you can create like a team there that has a little bit of everything, you're naturally going to have conflicts there. There's probably all sorts of conflicts in WWE's writing team that we don't even know about. People clashing, not getting along with each other, trying to shoot down the other as ideas just to fuck with that person, not even giving a shit about the talent that it's affecting. There's probably all sorts of horrible stories like that. They go on backstage that we don't even want to hear about, and if we knew, people would be making YouTube videos all over the place about them. So I'm going to defend Kenice Mobley. It ain't her fault. If you're offered a job, you take the job. It's WWE who is at fault here for bringing in people like this who have no concept at all of the product, and she also probably didn't think that she was saying anything wrong. But she doesn't understand, the hell that she is going to step into if she does anything to incite the wrath of the drooling wrestling fans out there, because they will come after her, and they made a big stink all over Twitter and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this was not shocking to me at all. This is actually something I already know they have done and still do currently, even with her gone. So none of this was a shock to me, and I was surprised so many found it so shocking on Twitter. I'm like, are you serious? First of all, we've known this about them. And second of all, look at the product. You can tell they got people who don't know shit about writing this stuff. It's plainly obvious to all of us. So I think the outrage on social media was a little bit ridiculous because of the fact that we knew this is what they did. And WWE corrected this pretty quickly by letting her go. And I don't think it's, I think it's mostly just due to that backlash. I don't even think she realized that she was putting in the company in a position that doesn't make them look good, but it's their own damn fault. I mean, basically they're mad at her for saying I was hired without any knowledge of the product. They should be mad at themselves for, you know what I mean? So she was just a victim here of bad place, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, caught the attention of the wrestling fans. They went ape shit like they do over everything, because one thing wrestling fans do not display is, a calm demeanor. They're completely out of their minds, all of them. So they freaked, and now she's let go. So we wish her the best, but WWE, just if you want to avoid situations like this, hire people that at least know who the fuck John Cena is. Oh, my God. So anyway, she's another one there. Best of luck to everybody, the men and the women, wrestlers, and to the writer and any other future releases that may happen in the next couple of days. If there is any more here, more behind-the-scenes stuff, more wrestlers, they could cut a few more people. I'm sure people could think of examples in their head. You don't have to put them in the chat, but think of examples in your head of, who could be on the chopping block, who they haven't used, who's literally done nothing. Those are the people that, might be a little worried right now, because WWE seems to be, they were in full acquisition mode a couple of years ago, gathering up as much talent as they could. And you had to wonder how long that was going to be able to be sustained. And then when COVID hit and, and all, whatever the hell else is going on behind the scenes, they have now decided to abort that philosophy of just buying everybody they can and now cutting them all loose. So it's really just a reaction to that. This is just the aftershock of all of that acquisition. Now they're starting to, cut a little bit of it loose, which you had to expect. But if they keep cutting big chunks of talent like this, eventually you are going to have that roster number to where you want, and you're not going to see big, huge mass releases anymore. You might see a couple of releases, to balance out a couple of signings or whatever. In WWE, they might, I don't know if they have an internal number that they want to keep the talent at. And I don't know what that number, if it's all inclusive of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Performance Center, or if those are all three separate numbers, or, if it's all one big number together. I don't know if there's a certain limit there. They want to say the roster needs to be at this. This is not regulated like, the NBA and NFL. There's no set amount you can have. You can have as many as you want, but maybe they've set something internally and they want to try to keep it at that. And I think that's actually not a bad philosophy to have. Especially if that number, is so great, that, you have so many people there, you're not going to be really missing out on anybody. So best of luck to everybody. Never is fun about release talent, see them lose their job. Anyway, let's move on to one other subject I want to talk about. Very interesting. It looks like WWE is starting to get an idea of what some NXT talent might look like in front of a live audience on a SmackDown or Raw stage. Few call-ups have been sent to the Thunderdome this past week from NXT, including Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, and Bronson Reed, who had matches on Main Event. Don't even know if these are even going to air. I don't think they're really considered main roster debuts. A lot of people were freaking out. Holy shit, they debuted Karrion Kross on Main Event. I don't know if this is going to really be considered his debut. I think when he turns up somewhere, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, that will be his real debut. What this appears to be is WWE trying to get an idea of what this talent looks like on camera. And I think Scarlett and Shotzi Blackheart were at SmackDown last night to do some dark matches or possibly film some main event stuff as well. Now, I haven't seen anything about Scarlett and Shotzi, but I saw Karrion Kross and Bronson Reed. And Karrion Kross was the biggest one because he took on Shelton Benjamin, and holy shit. There are some people on Twitter that gargle this guy's balls, and I like Karrion Kross a lot, but if you're one of those people who think that Kross is too good for the WWE to screw up, I give you Exhibit A. They have completely stripped him of everything that made the entrance and the character special in NXT. That entrance is awesome with Scarlett and the lighting and the smoke and the song and the fucking whole thing. He came out, aside from his music, which was largely the same, he came out there like he's John Cena wrestling his first match. The whole magic, the whole mystique of him was completely gone. Now, granted, this is main event. I don't think they were trying to go balls to the wall with his entrance here or anything like that, and I think they will get a little bit back to business if they do bring him up, because otherwise, what a waste. This guy is a, pretty badass monster. He's a current champion, been very dominant since being in NXT, and he's been champion twice. Is this what you want to do with him? When you bring him in, is just kind of take away all that stuff that made him really special, because him and Cross in the ring is good, but that's not his strongest suit. He's nowhere near the best wrestler in NXT. So accentuate some of his other stuff, like his look, like his badassness, like his music, like the whole, package. And I felt like they took a lot of that away. So again, this is main event. I'm not panicking, but it did not make me feel very good the way I saw him, because I'm like, boy, that does not feel like the same. And the biggest difference here is that there was no Scarlett. And apparently there's talk of splitting them up. Which, again, why would you do that? They're great together. At least, I understand nobody can stay together forever. Rusev and Lana and all the couples in the company split up. But right now, this package, I think, together works really well. And I think it would be pretty cool to see on the main roster on Raw or SmackDown. So I do not understand the decision to break them up. They're great together. And I was just not very optimistic now. Let me just put it that way after seeing Cross on main event. Now, again, I think this is just a test. They just want to see what he looks like and stuff. Maybe it was more of an in-ring perspective. This entrance was secondary. All that stuff can be proved upon. So I'm not losing my shit yet, but it'd be another perfect example of like, what is it about WWE when they have just a gold mine sitting there in NXT? The literal minute they get to the main roster, it's instantly wiped clean. And I don't know how WWE manages to do it. So very underwhelming, kind of little match there. But again, probably not going to count as an official debut. But they got a lot of work to do on him, WWE. And my recommendation is not split them up. If Scarlett's going to wrestle, fine. But I just think, at least right now, the package looks really well together. And I just wouldn't fuck with it. What is it with WWE trying to fix shit that ain't broke? They love to do that. They break up tag teams. They let people go. They split up, alliances before it's time and before it's had a chance to breathe or run its course or do anything. Before anything even gets started, they're splitting it up. And this is one that I just really don't understand. So if that's something that sticks, Cross, you got to remember, is still NXT champion. He might still have many months ahead of him. But if WWE wants him up to the main roster, that means he's going to be there for the draft, which means he's either going to come in as NXT champion, which would be strange, but done before, and then maybe go back and drop it while he's a member of the main roster, or he's going to drop that title before the draft, which would put it at the TakeOver or SummerSlam, I guess, on the Sunday, I suppose. So if that's what they do, then he'll be on the main roster, Raw or SmackDown. I'm not really sure where the better place for him would be. I would think maybe Raw. My instinct tells me Raw on that one, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I just had high hopes for him because he has just a badass look and he's great, and now I'm a little bit concerned. Best of luck to Karrion Kross, whatever winds up happening there. And we'll talk a little bit about NXT this week in a minute, because he did have a little bit of a run-in backstage with Samoa Joe. In terms of Bronson Reed, I can see them bringing him in too, but we got to remember he's also a champion. He's the North American champion. So if Vince or whoever decides they want Cross and Reed, that's going to be a blow to the NXT roster. But, at least it'll put the belt on a new champion, a couple of new champions in the company. And I almost think Bronson might be ready more than Cross is to be on, because he's just such a big guy and he can do shit, and maybe WWE can bring him in, but I just worry they'll do with Bronson what they did with Otis, although Otis is kind of being a little more serious now. Up until now, Otis has been a big, ridiculous joke, even with the briefcase and his peach and all that nonsense. So anyway, I am not optimistic and a little worried about some NXT talent and what WWE is going to do with them, or to them, I should say. And hopefully the live crowds coming back will help WWE make the right decisions here. You know what I mean? Yeah, Neil, I'm still doing reviews every now and then. And tomorrow we're going to be up here doing a watch-along of CM Punk's Pipe Bomb. The whole entire episode of Raw, June 27th, 2011, a 10-year anniversary is tomorrow. We're going to be up here doing a watch-along, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. So you can be here for that. That's, I guess, technically a classic Raw. I have no idea what even happens on that Raw. I don't know one match. Barry, if you're here, you'll probably tell us all about it. All I remember is Cena is beat down in the ring and at the end of the show, and that's when Punk comes out and cuts the promo. I don't even know who Cena was in the ring with or who his opponent was. No idea. So I'll be watching it tomorrow basically for like the first time, even though I have seen it before. So we'll be doing that tomorrow night. It should be a fun hangout. We've got a sad death to report. This one's pretty sad. Rest in peace to Melissa Coates. Passed away, I believe, I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday. Earlier on in the week, she was known as Super Genie. She was the valet and girlfriend of Sabu. Now, admittedly, I did not know much about her. I recognized her when I, saw her because I know she was in OVW for a couple of years and she's been around, but I largely didn't know that much about her. And honestly, I don't really like Sabu very much. I don't really follow him or, care much about him. He's done and said a couple things in interviews and in tweets that have been a complete turnoff to me. Don't really like Sabu. But apparently Melissa Coates was widely beloved by a lot of people. And she had rough go of it health-wise. I think last year had some blood clots in her leg that resulted in amputation of one of the legs. No cause of death here that I could see. I'm assuming this might be complications from that. My grandfather had that. He had a bunch of blood clots in his leg. They had to cut his leg off at like age 75, and he had a prosthetic for the last 20 years of his life. He lived to be 95. But that I had no idea about that. Never even was aware of her situation. A lot of wrestlers came out and shared stories of Melissa and what a great person she was. And I just wasn't aware of how well-traveled she was, admittedly. I was surprised that I didn't know as much about her as I should have because she seemed to be very, very well-known. Some people even on Twitter and some podcasters know her personally and had nothing but wonderful things to say about her. Bayley had her first match against Melissa Coates, which that blew my mind. I saw Chris Masters, her one appearance, I guess, on Raw, because she was in OVW in the mid-2000s for a year or two working out. She did a spot on Raw where she actually was one of the contestants to break the master lock. And he tweeted a video of him just ragdolling the hell out of her. And he admits, he goes, I was green as hell, and I gave her an extremely aggressive master lock, which he did. It was tough to watch, but he complimented her toughness and said how nice she was and professional she was. And everybody, from Impact Wrestling, actual promotions tweeting out, Frankie Kazarian, a lot of old, TNA and Impact talents, telling stories and sharing stories and talking about what a wonderful person she was. So thoughts go out to her, thoughts go out to Sabu and everybody, her friends and family and everybody that was close to her. 50 is way too young. She died 5 days after turning 50. So that's incredibly sad and just a shame. Just a shame. So rest in peace to Melissa Coates. I'll try to learn more about her. I was actually shocked when I didn't know that much, just the bare basics. I knew about Super Genie, knew about her OVW stint, but from there she was largely kind of gone from my memory. So condolences out to her family. Very, very sad. Anyway, let's get into some wrestling results before I hop out of here. Not going to talk about the entire episode of NXT this past Tuesday because I didn't really catch the whole thing, but I caught a couple of important things like the really good match between Kushida and O'Reilly and Diamond Mine debuting. Also, Joe is on the job now. He had a little run-in with Cross backstage, not backing down. He was out there during the Diamond Mines debut, trying to direct traffic and try to stabilize the situation. So Joe had a busy night his first week on the job, or maybe second week now. First, I forgot when Regal when Regal brought him on. But the highlight of the night for me was, I guess, the ending was the Kyle O'Reilly and Kushida match, which was amazing. Kyle O'Reilly picks up the win. Big show of respect between the two. O'Reilly even had a big, long social media post about how important this match was to him with Kushida. Really good stuff. After the match, Adam Cole hits the ring, attacks Kyle O'Reilly, and they start brawling, off into the CWC. That leaves Kushida in the ring by himself. He's attacked by a man in a black hood, gets his ass kicked, takes off the hood to reveal that it's Roderick Strong, who's then joined in the ring by Tyler Rust and Hideki Suzuki. They beat the shit out of Kushida together. Malcolm Bivens then enters the ring with a microphone and says Diamond Mine is here, and they're open for business. This is good. Because I was worried about Roderick Strong the most out of Undisputed Era. Out of everybody in the UE, I thought for sure he was going to be the one that might struggle because, remember before he joined them, they tried to get him over as a babyface. They told his life story and how well-traveled and what a good worker he was, but was that really going to be enough? And he found his niche in the Undisputed Era with those guys. And, this is, just started, so we have no idea if this is even going to work or not or be a successful faction. But NXT has had pretty good luck with factions. And if they've put a lot of thought and time into this, which apparently they have, this reportedly has been in the works for quite some time, hence the vignettes and, the debut and everything. So they've apparently had this in mind for a lot of these talents for a while. And to have Roderick Strong now take the reins as the leader, I like that. That's the natural next step in his career now that he's even more of a veteran than he was before he got to NXT. And he had all that time in the Undisputed Era having big time title matches in the company, for the North American title, tag team titles, whatever it was, on takeovers, on TV. He is just, an amazing talent. So when Undisputed Era broke up, I was worried where that was going to leave him. I thought O'Reilly might be fine, but Strong might not. Now it's almost like the opposite. I like Hip Kyle and everything, but I'm not really sure if it's going to connect to the point where this guy's really going to be NXT champion or any sort of major champion on the main roster. Just don't know. Where Roderick Strong now feels like, he's going to be leading up his own faction. He's going to be taking the reins here because he was a big part. He was an enforcer of the last faction. Natural progression would be to lead up your own faction, like a crime boss family or something like that. I am in charge now, or whatever. Godfather. That's a terrible impression. But you know what I mean. So this is good. We'll see where it goes. I like that they've recognized that Roderick Strong, it's not that he can't talk, but maybe not the best actual mouthpiece. He's not as good as Cole. So having Malcolm Bivens do that work is great because Malcolm is fantastic. So far, so good for Diamond Mine with me. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I like the group, at least initially. But, it's a big if to see where it goes. So NXT was a solid show this week, as it has been. NXT's been solid virtually since they've been on Tuesdays, in my mind. A men's Riot Squad? That's interesting. Ooh, Seth Rollins versus Adam Cole. I like it. Mark Simpson. Yes, William Mader. We're going to be watching. Actually, the link is in the description. Just look right below you in the description, right at the top of it. That is the link for later on tonight. I'm going to be up here live watching AEW Dynamite live with all you guys, and then we're going to hang out and review it afterwards. So that'll be later. It'll be just about 2 hours after I wrap up this podcast. We're going to be back doing it again. So hope you can be here. Click that link, put it in your pocket, save it for later. What's going on, Mary? Are you ready for Dynamite? I am too. Good to see you, Mr. E. You're in the house as well. Neil, right. Yeah, exactly. Rude gave Warrior his best matches. Those were all really good. Their Mania 5 match, the way he was bumping and selling for Warrior, their SummerSlam 89 match where they did the title switch was good. Rude was awesome. And their SummerSlam 90 match, cage match, was really good. For Warrior standards, it was not bad. I always have fond memories of that match. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind. Those of you who are here, I would appreciate it. And we're going to get into last night's Smackdown here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can get ready for the Dynamite stream later. But Smackdown is worth talking about because we are in Money in the Bank ladder match qualifying zone here on Raw and SmackDown. So we know we're going to be getting a lot of qualifiers. Raw qualified a shitload on Monday, but SmackDown only qualified 2. 1 man, 1 woman last night on SmackDown. So we got some of that, but we got some matches added for next week as well. And we have our Money in the Bank title match set, Universal title match, set for the pay-per-view as well with a big return. So the show opened up with a mixed tag match, Bianca Belair and who's she teaming up with? Cesaro, against Seth Rollins and Bayley. I thought they were going to do this match a couple of weeks ago when all 4 were in the ring cutting a promo. And I'm like, they went to commercial. We're going to come back. We should get a mixed tag, but we didn't. I guess they saved it here. Bianca and Cesaro took the loss here. I think Bayley pinned Bianca, and her and Seth celebrated up the ramp, and, they got the win there. Now, later on, Seth Rollins would approach Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville backstage, basically throwing his name into the hat that he wants to be the next challenger for Roman Reigns. And Roman is going to have a lot to say about that later because he feels that he's gone through all the challengers after beating Rey Mysterio last week, and there's no one else left to face. So Seth thinks he should be that guy, and Adam and Sonya say they will take it under advisement. So that would, might play in down the road is what we would see later. In a Money in the Bank qualifying match, Big E took on Apollo Crews. This is a non-title match, but this does qualify the winner into the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men, and hopefully this was the blow-off. I think it's their 7th one-on-one match in just a matter of a few weeks. Between these two guys, they've been feuding for a long time. Big E, it feels like he's moving away from the Intercontinental title, and Apollo will continue to run with that. So I fully expected him to get the win here and qualify. That's what happened. So Big E on the SmackDown side is officially in the Money in the Bank match, and he'd be an early pick. We've mentioned Big E's name a lot in terms of a briefcase holder. A lot of people feel like it's better on a heel. I don't know if it's better on a heel all the time. It's great on a heel, especially when it's on the right heel. But on the right babyface, that can be fun as well, especially if Big E decides to put a bunch of pancakes in the briefcase and toss them out to people. I'll catch one and eat it. So Big E is in the ladder match, and I think we have 4 now confirmed for that. Then on the women's side, we have Carmella, who just gets grandfathered right in. And you know what? I'm fine with that. She's a 2-time winner. Didn't she win the first 2 Money in the Banks, I think, if I have that right? So she deserves to be in there. And Sonya Deville brought her out to the ring, I think, and said, okay, you're in the match. Liv Morgan came out to the ring. She took exception to that. And then Sonya said, all right, if you want to prove yourself, you can face Carmella, but it wasn't even a qualifying match. It was just a match against Carmella. So we go to commercial, we come back. Liv Morgan wins with a roll-up and pins her, but doesn't qualify. So all she did is get the attention, I suppose, of Sonya Deville. So Liv will continue to try to get in there. I hope she does. Why not Liv? Why not Liv? Like, what if she got in the match? She did something where she really proves herself. Maybe she has to prove herself 2 or 3 times on TV before finally qualifying. Uphill battle from the minute, gets the fans behind her, watches her journey week by week, trying to convince Sonya to give her a qualifying match. But Sonya says, oh, maybe I need to see you win one more. And then maybe next week she wins another match. Maybe a little more hard fought this time where it's not just a quick roll up. Maybe she actually wins because she's the better wrestler that night. You know what I mean? Try it. Might just work. And then that might be enough. Then she stumbles back all beaten and sweaty, but victorious from her win. And she sees Sonya and she goes, okay, what about now? And Sonya goes, okay, I'm convinced. Almost. Now you've earned yourself a qualifying match. Next week, you're going to take on so-and-so. And if you can beat her, you're in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and do it next week and have her win again. Not with a roll-up, not with a quick win, not with a distraction, but like an actual win, hit your finisher, pin the girl right in the middle, qualify for the Money in the Bank, and then in the Money in the Bank, fight your ass off and grab the briefcase. You think that live crowd would not cheer for Liv Morgan? They absolutely would. But I don't know what WWE's plans are, but I think, if they want to elevate some other talent, they didn't release Liv, they released Ruby, so if you're not releasing Liv, don't you want to do something with Liv? So she'd be a great candidate, Cinderella pick, dark horse pick to win Money in the Bank. Why not? Elevate somebody else. Becky doesn't need it. Becky can walk right back in the doors and get a title shot immediately because she forfeited her title. Giving her the briefcase would be a waste. It would get a good pop, but it would be a waste. Give it to Liv Morgan or somebody like Liv Morgan. You know what I mean? And speaking of the men, we're going to circle back to the men now because next week we've got a big qualifying match set between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And this is actually going to be a last man standing match. So this is nuts. Owens, according to a tweet in kayfabe, was going to be taking some time off. I guess he just meant 2 weeks because he'll be back now after the brutal match he had, where he was not 100% facing Sami Zayn. Now he's going to have to face him again in a last man standing match. You would think that Owens is going to get the victory here, get his win back. Sammy is very upset with this. He confronts Adam Pearce backstage about it, and Pearce is, saying, "Oh, too bad. You got the match next week." And Sammy warns him that he's messing with karma, and we've seen the way that's worked out for Sammy opponents recently. So next week, I think Owens will probably qualify, and I would love Owens to win the Money in the Bank. We talked about him too. He'd be another babyface who I would like to see. But again, he had his run with Roman earlier. If he wins the briefcase. I think if it's a SmackDown person winning the briefcase, I almost think you send that person to Raw, either in the draft or they just go over there and cash in. because Roman feels like he's got some opponents now set up. He's got Edge. He's possibly got Seth Rollins on the horizon and John Cena. Not that the briefcase can't stay over there. It might be fun, but I think, you could look for a brand switch. If one guy wins a briefcase, going over to the other show and challenging that champion. I think they're going to do that with at least one of the briefcases, the men or the women's. We'll see. So anyway, Sami and Owens next week, last man standing match. We had the coronation of Shinsuke Nakamura, which was ridiculous. Again, I've kind of complained about this storyline because WWE seems to be conflating the King of the Ring and the King Crown, which I believe were always two separate things. The crown, like when Harley Race had it and Haku had it and Duggan had it and Savage had it, that would be defended randomly, very, very infrequently on TV. Every couple of years, you might get the crown defended, where the King of the Ring is a match that you win. And I said that this whole idea of having the match for the crown makes about as much sense as having a match for the Andre the Giant Battle Royal trophy. It's a trophy that you won. It's not a title. So the fact that they're almost like confusing and now mixing the two pisses me off. Now, Shinsuke Nakamura and his new alliance with Rick Boogs is very entertaining. It's very fun. The coronation was hilarious with Shinsuke dancing. He's all in white and Boogs is out of his mind, of course. And the one interesting takeaway from this whole thing is that they're out there doing the whole ceremony and putting the crown on his head and doing the whole coronation. And that actually looked like the real throne. I think from the way they might have brought that throne in from the warehouse. That might have been one of the ones they used. It looked kind of similar to maybe the one they put in Jerry Lawler's King's Court or something. It's a throne they've used before. I just can't think of where it's at or where it was. So as they're doing the whole thing, they go backstage where Baron Corbin is being interviewed by Kayla Braxton. They got the monitor there. They're watching it, and Corbin just seems all depressed. He's got like tears in his eyes, and he's like, man, what's the point now? I lost my crown. I lost everything. And he just walks away all Mr. Sad Face. So I don't know what the hell that means in Baron Corbin. Maybe this is going to be yet another character change for him from Constable to Lone Wolf to King and to whatever he was lately. It's the 16 faces of Corbin here. We'll see if now he just maybe he just wrestles in plain clothes, or maybe he just snaps and becomes, even more of a killer. Maybe he becomes a sympathetic babyface. Maybe they're going to turn Corbin babyface. I don't know. I have no idea. That's going to be tough to pull off, and I'd like to see how they attempt that. But I do like that they're at least maybe changing directions with Corbin. The whole thing for the over the crown was dumb, and now you've made it to where, well, now what do you do with the King of the Ring? You've now put yourself in a situation where if you want to do the King of the Ring again, you're almost going to have to make the current king defend the crown, which is never the way the King of the Ring's been done before. And I don't like that. They should have never done this. You can have a feud with Nakamura and Corbin and still have Rick Boogs out there and still do all sorts of entertaining shit without having to involve the stupid crown, because now you've fucked up your shit because it's not supposed to be that way. I'm very against the crown thing, in case you guys can't tell. Dumb. But Nakamura Boogs are fun, and Corbin, we'll see where it goes from here. Main event was Jimmy Uso taking on Dolph Ziggler. Now, earlier on in the show, Jimmy and Roman have some segments backstage. Jay has been missing, of course. He's been missing since last week, and Jimmy told Roman that he did find Jay. He did get in touch with Jay, but Jay said he's not coming back, and he doesn't want to come back. So Roman's disappointed, but Jimmy now, Jimmy was kind of like anti-Roman for a while there. Now Jimmy feels like he wants to step up. He's trying to ensure Roman that he's got his back and he can do everything that his brother does. And Roman is a little skeptical because Jay really has proven himself. Even though Roman Reigns takes a shit on the poor guy's face every week, he knows that his cousin can get the job done when needed sometimes. And he's skeptical that Jimmy can do the same thing. But Jimmy says, let me show you and let me prove it, or Roman tells him to prove it or whatever. So there's more of that dynamic going on. And I don't know where the deal with Jay Uso was going. I don't know what his absence is going to mean in the end. If he's going to stay away, maybe turn back up in the Money in the Bank match between Edge and Roman Reigns, or he's going to have a big impact somewhere upon his return. I was hoping he could maybe get himself into the Money in the Bank. That would be awesome. Maybe he even turns up in the match and pulls the briefcase down in the middle of the match, or just shows up there and wins it somehow as a surprise. I think the crowd would pop for that too. And now you've really giving Roman something to think about with his cousin with that briefcase. It might just make an interesting dynamic. It might be too much. You might not even need that in that whole family thing, but it makes you wonder what they're doing with Jay and if Jimmy and Jay are maybe in some sort of some cahoots here to if there's something more sinister going on. You know, if Jimmy is kind of in on this with his brother, or more maybe this is Jay trying to put his brother in a situation to where he can see what he had to go through, and then maybe he'll understand a little bit better, that sort of thing. So when he comes back, they're all back on the same page. But Jay is still missing, and Jimmy wants to prove himself. So Jimmy takes on Dolph Ziggler in the main event. Pretty good match. Jimmy wins with the super kick. And the big story here isn't so much the match, it's what happens after the match. So Jimmy wins. He's victorious. He gives a little nod to Roman, I think, and then Roman comes to the ring to cut his promo. Now, Paul Heyman had promised some sort of a big announcement by Roman Reigns, and they start to announce this here, and it was almost interesting. I'm like, what the hell is he going to say? Because Roman is in the ring, and Heyman's on the mic and says, you know, this guy, you can chant he sucks all you want, but he does not suck. He's been dominant. He's had a year-long run here in this company as Universal Champion. He has destroyed this brand. He has defeated this brand. He's beaten every top contender here, which is almost true. And he says there's nothing else for him to do. So he makes a big deal for the first time ever on network TV, something that's never been done, but we have no choice. I give the floor to Roman Reigns, and Roman is about to announce something, which I'm assuming might have been like he's going to forfeit the title, or he's going to say there's nobody left for me to beat, so I'm just going to retire as champion, or maybe I'm going to forfeit the title so somebody else can be champion so I can beat him for it. Imagine that Roman. Imagine that Roman like getting in the ring with, I don't know, Edge or somebody like that, and taking one punch from them or taking one move and just laying down and getting pinned. Or maybe not even doing like a Hogan finger poke, but like, you know how every wrestler, you know, goes for a cover in the match. The very first cover on Roman Reigns, he just doesn't kick out. Just a random cover that you expect, you know, just to, you know, your guy to kick out of. You know, it's a minute and a half into the match, and Roman just stays down 1-2, and the referee counts 3. Brand new champion. Roman gets up and snickers and just kind of smiles and shrugs his shoulders and walks away. And you don't know what the hell it's about. Then the next night on Smackdown or the next week on TV, they're like, Roman, what the hell happened the other night? He goes, I was bored. There's nothing that's boring when you're the champion. I beat everybody. So I decided to give the belt to him so I can beat him for it, just for fun. I just want to beat him for it. I just want to watch him experience losing something. I want to add another championship to my resume, all in the process. I'll get a rematch. I had a year-long run. They'll grant me a rematch. And when I do get that rematch, I'll win my title back. And then he does. That's badass. That would be something that nobody has ever done before. So I don't know what Roman was about to announce here or whatever, and I don't know if it's going to play into things later, but before he has a chance to say whatever this is, You Think You Know Me hits. Thunderdome goes crazy. Steam, smoke, Edge's music. Edge is back. He comes down to the ring. He's huge, jacked, big-ass beard on him. Gets in the ring. Attacks Roman Reigns. They start brawling. He starts beating the shit out of Roman. Roman is able to turn the tables on him and goes and puts him down in the ring, leaves the ring to go get a chair. Edge recovers, hits Roman Reigns with a spear. He puts Roman down, puts his face right down on the steel chair that's already in the ring, and goes out to get another chair to do the concerto. Jimmy Uso then comes out to make the save, saves Roman Reigns, and winds up getting speared through the barricade by Edge for his efforts. And after the match, after the segment, Edge stands victorious there. They did a little backstage segment after the show. I think it aired on Talking Smack, where Edge is barreling through Gorilla after beating the hell out of Jimmy and Roman, and he goes and finds Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. He demands a title match at Money in the Bank, and they grant it to him. So we're going to get the match that we didn't get at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns and Edge one-on-one in front of a packed house. First show back, or first pay-per-view back, really, to full capacity, and that is going to be fun. I'm perfectly in favor of this match. Now, they set up a couple of things earlier on in the show with Seth Rollins approaching Sonya and Adam and declaring that he wants a title shot. So you know Seth's going to be pissed now that Sonya and Adam just granted Edge the match after the last time we saw him on TV. He was being stacked and pinned by Roman Reigns, and a lot of people argue that Edge is the uncrowned champion because he was laying on top of Daniel Bryan. So really, Edge pinned Bryan. I don't know if they'll factor that in here or not, but they could. It might be funny. So with Seth Rollins wanting a piece of this, And now that opportunity been given to Edge, you would think Seth Rollins is going to be upset, and now you've put yourself in a situation to where he could potentially sabotage or ruin the Money in the Bank match between Edge and Roman Reigns, maybe even costing Edge the title, setting up your Seth Rollins and Edge match at SummerSlam, which has been rumored for some time. So the table is set for that if they want to do that. That still leaves Roman Reigns without a challenger. You would assume it's John Cena. John Cena has himself confirmed a return, so to think that we're not going to be seeing John Cena at SummerSlam is pretty ridiculous. We're going to see him there, and he should be coming back to TV as soon as the crowds come back. So assuming that he's going to be challenging Roman Reigns, that sets the table for all of this, makes it a little bit predictable, but at the same time, you could do a lot of things in that match. If you want to get out of it without having a true finish or having Roman just retain, you can have Seth come out there, cost Edge. You could have Daniel Bryan turn back up randomly. Daniel Bryan could show up in Money in the Bank and pull down the briefcase. He could show up here in the match with Edge and Roman. We might get Edge and Daniel Bryan still. They were teasing that match potentially happening, but I think Edge and Seth is the more likely scenario here, and now that's all set up. So pretty good SmackDown last night. Decent. Got a couple of Money in the Bank qualifiers and a huge return that set up a big title match at Money in the Bank. That's going to be fun. Just the crowd involvement and the reaction there. And now all the stuff leading up to their match on TV. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. I just hope that Daniel Bryan doesn't show back up now and make this thing a triple threat again. I hope that Seth doesn't do the same thing. It is possible that that happens, that maybe Seth or Sonya and Adam grant him a match to win, and then he's added to the match to make it a triple threat. That could set off Edge into a psychotic rage like it did last time. But since we didn't get Edge and Roman one-on-one, I'd like them to keep it one-on-one, and I'm hoping they don't add Seth Rollins to the mix here. I really hope that. So we're set. We're set for Money in the Bank. It's a good-looking card so far. I've got 5 matches written down, I guess. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match, women's Money in the Bank ladder match, of course, Edge and Roman, which is now official for the Universal title. And we have Bobby Lashley defending against Kofi Kingston, WWE title match, and of course Rhea Ripley defending against Charlotte as well. So they're probably going to add Bayley and Bianca to this as well. We're going to get a rematch there again, and maybe another match, or that might be it. That would give us 6 matches, including the 2 ladders. So yeah, that might be enough. We'll see, and hopefully we'll get some fun surprises at Money in the Bank, surprise winner, something like that. We'll see. But it's stacking up to be pretty good. By the way, they also advertised a special appearance by Becky Lynch next week on SmackDown. So I really hope that special appearance is some via satellite shit and some interview, which is what I think it is. Because if they're going to bring her back, dude, wait for fans to be there, man. Wait until that crowd is packed and jacked. Then bring the Baxter back. But she's going to be making some sort of appearance on SmackDown. We know she's primed and ready to return. She's been working out at the PC. She's all good to go. I think WWE is just waiting for that audience. And like we saw, they brought Edge back, last night without that. But he's going to get that big match in front of a crowd at Money in the Bank. So we shall see, but we'll get some news, hopefully, on Becky next week. If she is going to appear in some sort of an interview, she will probably announce her return. She'll probably announce her return maybe at Money in the Bank or maybe at SummerSlam or whatever. But we'll get hopefully we'll get some information out of her, and it's not just a pointless appearance. If Becky's going to come back and show her face for the first time since she left on Monday Night Raw, then it should be something important to say and not just dragging her out there for no reason. So we'll see. We will see. Oh, you're thinking Edge beating Roman for the belt and then getting cashed in on. I'm not saying WWE won't do a one-night cash-in, but I almost kind of hope that they don't. Just don't pack too much stuff into that one show because you've still got SummerSlam. I'd like to have some briefcases floating around SummerSlam just to give you that what-if type of scenario. So I think Roman should continue. I think Edge and Seth sets up a one-on-one match at SummerSlam more than a title match at this point. Because if that scenario happens, I don't know where that puts Roman. But yeah, July 16th, that's when we get live fans. I believe that's a SmackDown, and then July 18th is Money in the Bank. So we're down to our last small handful of shows, 5 or 6 left in the Thunderdome, and we are done. I'm very excited. Very excited indeed. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I got to get ready for the stream later on. I'm going to be back up here live in 2 hours for AEW Dynamite. We're going to do a live reaction of the show, and then we'll stay up after that and do a review of the show. So we're just getting started here tonight. You guys take a little 2-hour break, chill out, and then come back and join us in a little bit. Link is in the description, and it's on the main channel page there as well. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any. Oh, no, we're good on the super chat front. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you guys for being here today, and I will see you in just a little bit.